Yes. Yes. Yes, now I can hear you guys.
Okay, so I apologize, but this device was having an issue while you read that, and so it was muted. I checked it. I just checked it on YouTube to make sure, and the audio was not actually going through, even though the lights were on. So I apologize.
Tell me when. All right.
We're definitely live.
It's live now?
Yeah.
I was just told my statement to to the public was muted, so we're going to try it one more time. Again, my name is Dan Cuneo. I'm the current board president. Last week, on August 3rd, the SSD Schools Board of Education held a special meeting to consider approving the 100% virtual learning for students who attend SSD schools when the 2020-2021 school year begins for SSD on August 24th. Now, I understand that many people have signed up to view the meeting on YouTube, and there was some confusion about the motion and to whom it applied. On behalf of the board, I want to first apologize for not starting that meeting on time. Second, I want to clarify what the board voted on at that meeting, what it means, and why we made the decision that we made. As a district, SSD serves all students with disabilities in St. Louis County. In the 22 partner districts in St. Louis County, SSD provides special education staff, while the partner districts provide students and schools and buildings. The partner districts, boards of education, make the decisions for their own districts and plan, and including those about scheduling and instruction. SSD continues to work closely with each partner district on its own plans for the new school year, and will continue to follow the educational model and plan put in place for each district. SSD also operates its own schools, the special education schools, and the 2 technical high schools. The SSD Board of Education also has the authority over those schools, as well as several other programs, such as the Bridges program and the Vocational Skills program. So, when the SSD Board approved going to 100% virtual learning until the data shows that students and staff at SSD schools can go back to school safely, the decision it made affected only those students who attend one of SSD's schools or programs. In addition, the board agreed that the data will be reviewed on a monthly basis. The first review will be on September 24th, 1 month from the day that the school year begins. We want you to know that we're taking this issue very seriously. And it was a tough decision. We have been looking at these data. We've been grappling with this, debating this, analyzing this for the past 3 months. Under normal conditions, we know that the best option is for the students in our SSD schools to attend school in person. However, under the current conditions in St. Louis County, the safety of our students and our staff must be our top priority. Thank you. Now, on to the work study.
We have 3 presentations tonight. Our first one is plans for our distance learning for our opening of our school year and our partner districts, and along with our technical schools. So we have Dr. Kelly Grigsby, we have Shakira McBriddle, and Kevin Anders, who will be presenting our first informational event for you.
Good evening, Vice President Brown, Board of Directors, and Dr. Keenan. My name is Kelly Grigsby. I'm the Executive Director for the School Food Program.
Good evening, I am Shakira McBriddle, Executive Director for Partner School District.
Good evening. Kevin Anders, Executive Director of Career Technical Education and College and Career Readiness.
Tonight, we're here to present our plans for distance learning for the SSD schools, the Career Technical Education schools, and partner districts.
So first we wanted to share with you, this is a brief video that was put together by our back-to-school planning committee. So this video, we really wanted to focus on three things. We wanted to talk about where we were this spring, where we're headed moving forward, and really center our staff around our vision of partnering for student success. So student success is a big piece we want to emphasize with our staff as we start the year. So we'll show a brief video.
Student success to me is look on their face when they smile because they just learned a new skill or task.
For me, student success looks like students who are able to make a connection with their hard work and their effort to their achievement and accomplishment, and who can use that as a motivational tool. Students who can show some accountability for their actions, and who can demonstrate a basic understanding of respect and kindness for others.
Student success is when everyone is healthy and learning.
For me, when I think about student success, I think about that aha moment, when a student masters a skill for the first time, like reading a book or taking a math test.
When I think of student success, I think of students being proud of themselves, accomplishing their goals, being able to apply what they've learned so they can reach their personal goal of independence.
Student success to me is found in that epiphany or aha moment when a connection is made and something finally makes sense to the child. The pride that you see on their face and hear in their voice is evidence that a concept has been mastered, no matter how small, that allows the student to continue to grow and develop.
Hi, my name is Sebastian. I've been a great teacher and parent. Help me be success at school. Thank you.
I know this is a very unique time for all of us, and that is why it's more important now than ever before to remember that we are all in this together. We know that this year will be challenging, but with student success as our top priority, our challenges will become opportunities. Thank you for choosing to be a part of our SSD family and team. Take care, stay safe, and welcome back, everybody.
We thought this video is a really good transition as we're moving our focus to focusing on the distance learning plan and how we're going to deliver instruction, keeping student success at the forefront of that conversation. So everything that we're going to talk about tonight are things that we are doing to create positive experiences in the classroom to foster an environment where students can succeed.
So our presentation this evening will cover our distance learning plan, distance learning expectations for teachers or case managers, distance learning expectations for related service staff, distance learning for career technical education, planning for partner districts, professional development for staff, resources and access to technology for families, and building access. So for the SSD schools, as we know, we're 100% virtual until data shows that students and staff can return to school safely, and the data will be reviewed on a monthly basis. Regarding partner districts, many have made the decision to reopen schools. They have considered two different models, 100% distance learning and or reduced capacity. 100% distance learning indicates that students will receive instruction remotely and through online resources. Reduced capacity and hybrid models, students will be able to attend school less than 5 days weekly. Currently, we have 3 districts that are considered reduced capacity and or hybrid models. Administrators, SSD administrators will continue to participate and provide input in planning for the start of the 2020-21 school year, and will continue to work collaboratively with our liaisons and our partner school districts, as well as administration.
So our distance learning plans. So SSD has developed guidance documents to support districts, administration staff with planning for instructional services and related services. So the distance learning plans, also referred to as a DLP, address the student's special education needs, and they're going to be captured in a system called Qualtrics, which will allow us to individually distribute those to students and families. Special education DLPs are developed collaboratively by the case manager, working with the related service providers, and factoring input from students and families to guide that distance learning plan. Plans are going to be revised and shared electronically with families every 2 weeks while you're providing distance learning.
Distance learning expectations. So basically, we will be providing students with learning experiences through direct instruction and virtual sessions, minimally 3 live sessions per week, 5 learning activities per subject. For elementary school, that may be in units, and for high school, it will be specific courses taught. Staff will support student learning and provide family resources through regularly scheduled office hours. In addition, we've also developed an extensive set of paraprofessional expectations as well as how they will be supporting families and teachers throughout this remote learning. In addition to instruction, assessments will be given to provide evidence of learning that aligns with course objectives. We'll also administer our district level assessments as well. Grades will be issued based on student performance on activities and assessments, and student attendance in live session and completion rates will be monitored as well. If students are not engaged, we will be implementing interventions. Related services will be provided using telepractice, and this will be during our direct scheduled virtual learning sessions. The number of sessions and activities will be comparable to the number of service minutes indicated in the IEP. Office hours will be held daily throughout the week to support students and families.
For career and technical education, our distance learning plans are going to be emphasizing power standards. And so what these are standards that have been identified by our industry partners and advisors as these are the skills necessary for the student to be able to gain either entry-level employment or successfully transition into a post-secondary program after completing our program at the high school level. The plans are also going to emphasize opportunities for students to earn certifications. Many of the certifications that we offer can be delivered virtually. For example, OSHA 10 certification is one that many of our programs offer, but it's an entirely virtual module that students can complete to obtain that certification. So while we're in a remote setting, we're still going to be working towards student certification. We'll be purchasing licenses for simulation software for programs that currently do not have the capability to do their demonstrations or their lessons remotely. Today, we actually did demonstrations with about 60 teachers on a system that we purchased from Cengage Learning called CTE Pathways, that for each of our programs has high-quality simulations built into it. Of our 29 CTE programs, that software solution will fulfill the needs for 25 of our 29 programs.
Technology and access and training for families. Principals and administrators in both partner districts as well as our SSD schools are working to communicate with families to determine their technology needs. We have developed processes for checking out and disseminating these devices and hotspots and working collectively with our technology department. Video trainings are accessible on our district website to support our families who will have a focus on using our online platform.
So professional development. So our principals and administrators have developed professional development plans to support their staff, recognizing that the ability levels and comfort levels of our staff vary from building to building and district to district. Staff are receiving extensive training to support, implement, and engage remote learners. I'm going to be talking about some of those resources that we're utilizing here in just a moment. Technology trainings are also available for staff focused on using online platforms, so training on things like Google Classroom and Zoom conferencing. SSD staff will participate in partner district professional development as well. That will support the district's adopted instructional delivery model. So if there's a preferred system or group of systems that are used in a specific partner district, our teachers will also be participating in training on those platforms that are used by those districts. On the next two slides, this is a long list of various resources that we've made available to our teachers. I'm going to show you real quickly what this is going to look like in practice. So this is the SSD website, the public-facing website. When they scroll down here to return to school guidance, on the left-hand side, we have a section dedicated specifically to distance learning guidance and resources. This is really a one-stop shop for both our families as well as our teachers and staff. So when you click onto that link, it then has a drop-down with a couple other options. So first, I'll show you what we have out here for families. So if you click on families, what we have here in the center are the two most commonly used systems that our families are going to be asked to use while we're doing remote instruction. So the first one is a Google Classroom how-to video. It's a short 3-minute video that gives the family a crash course of how does their students log in, how does their students access the system, and what are the key look-fors when they get into a Google Classroom. We also have a video that was put together specifically for how to use hotspots, that if their student receives a hotspot from the district, how do you use it? Once they have it, how do you turn it on? How do you log into it? How do you know that it's working properly? As well as a step-by-step guide on how to use a Chromebook. The Chromebook functions a little bit different than a standard laptop or a Mac operating system or a PC, so making sure families understand the nuance there of here are the tips and tricks to be successful with this device. Most of our students, the technology they'll be receiving from the district will be a Chromebook. So that's why we have that first and foremost. As we see the new let's take another tutorial. Hi. Also down at the bottom, we have the quick how-to for families of how to access Zoom. So before they log into a Zoom system, teachers can send these out to their families so they have a chance to watch the quick introduction video before they have to log in for the first time, so they know what to access on the system. As we see need for additional resources, we'll continue to house them here for our families. For our educators, it looks a little bit different. So it has all those links that were in the PowerPoint there housed here so that our teachers can easily find them. But what I have found most important with working with our teachers is they really like the suggested tools for virtual engagement on the right-hand side. So when you go over to that side, you'll see here are the tools available for video conferencing with your students and families. And then there's quick tutorial videos that walk them through how to use that piece of technology. In addition, beyond video conferencing in Google Classroom, we have things like if they want to do flipped lessons, there's tools like Screencastify or Edpuzzle or Paradox, and each one of those comes with a quick 2 to 3 minute introduction video of here's the tool, here's how it works, here are classrooms where that might work well, and then if this is something you're interested in, here's a little bit more info on how to get started. Then from there, if a teacher says, you know what, I think I want to use Edpuzzle as a part of my remote instruction, great. It'll then take them to the Edpuzzle website, which will have a little bit more of an in-depth walkthrough for those staff members. So we're really taking the a la carte approach here, where teachers can view all of the different resources and then figure out for their students what's going to work best for them when they're teaching in this remote environment. And then all of those resources as well are also available in a PDF form. So if a family can't access it on the website and we need to send it to them as a hard copy, or they just prefer to have it as a hard copy, we can do that. Many of them now have a quick start guide that Dr. Bolton has worked with Technology Services to develop. And those quick start guides for families who are receiving technology from the district, they'll get that quick start guide with the technology. So when they get a hotspot or they get a Chromebook, it'll come with kind of the quick tips and tricks for using the device that they're receiving.
With regards to access to the schools, we recognize that staff need access to the schools in order to access technology, to print materials, to gather materials, they just need access to their stuff. So we've developed a procedure for staff to be able to access the schools during remote learning. They'll continue to follow those practices to prevent transition, masking, social distancing. We will have a schedule that's worked out with the school administrators to be able to contact trace and know who's in the school at what time, and no community access will be granted at this time.
Regarding partner districts and staff access, SSD staff and administration will participate and follow all protocols as well as training and guidelines that are set forth in partner districts. Our staff will continue to follow those practices to prevent transmission, and they will also participate in training procedures that are outlined in our SSD return to school guidance information. SSD staff will be determined by, staff access, will be determined by our partner districts, and we will follow all of the guidelines and procedures as I've indicated before. I will continue to support our directors as well as our lead ACs and our liaisons and our partner districts to ensure that schools are equipped and safe and ready for our staff to be present and to support our scholars with learning. Are there any questions?
I do have a question. One of the things that was mentioned is going to be age slides, and it was speaking about, this is Latricia Morgan speaking. It made reference to interventions that will be provided for attendance. What does that look like?
So we are going to monitor student engagement and attendance. So whether we're looking at whether students are interacting on virtual sessions, whether they're completing assignments online, and also whether they're returning to paper and pencil tests as well. Our plan is to mail those out and return with a self-addressed envelope. So many of the interventions we'll use are similar to what we do in school. Reaching out, trying to surface those barriers. So is it a technology issue? Is it a support issue? Is it a timing issue? Is it a lack of understanding of the schedule? Just really try to get to hone in on what the barrier is so that we can problem solve through that and get students engaged. We also may use home visits and other types of interventions that we use during a typical school year just to be able to make contact. Of course, we will do that safely.
Thank you.
This is Yuval Abner speaking. Obviously parents are sort of scrambling to make plans now with the announcement that school could be 100% online. Is there any word from parents about schedules for the SSD schools, of the actual day-to-day? If they haven't even sent out yet, when will those be sent out?
So even prior to the announcement, we were planning for Plan B if we needed to go virtually in SSD schools. So all of the principals have worked with their teams to develop schedules both for online instruction and for related service. So what we saw in the spring was a lot of duplication and overlapping, and so each student will have a specific schedule, and the schedule is cross-filled in when, and that will be communicated with families. So clearly, before school starts.
Right now, many of our teachers returned yesterday. Many of our teachers have already begun making calls to families to talk specifically about what the schedule is going to look like for that individual student. Because this really is going to vary a little bit from student to student what that schedule and routine is going to look like. The routine and schedule for a kindergartner are going to be different than the routine and schedule for a fifth grader.
So I'm thinking if we have young lady here interpreting what we have to say, how are we addressing the needs of our visually impaired students virtually, if possible?
So there are a couple resources that we are leveraging. So one is a translation service called Buoyant. So a quick help guide has been put together for using that, where they're actually, if a teacher is hosting a Zoom classroom session, they can include a Buoyant interpreter into that classroom, and they're invited in. That can both be for language interpretation as well as for hearing impairment or whatever accommodations are necessary for that student. So that's one tool that we have that it's an outside company that we contract with, where we can then connect them in to the classes where appropriate. It's possible one class could have 2 or 3 interpreters based off the need of the student and family.
With regard to visual impairment, so we will have to plan for making sure that our families have those materials ahead of time, and also work with the vision itineraries to make sure that we're carrying together and best practices for virtual learning for people with visual impairment.
And you're going to
there were resources when I was checking in with the teachers in the spring of the year, and to get available resources to our families and for our teachers to get those type of things out to our families. We are going to have like a way to submit a request to our print shop, and they will print it off and they will send it out so our family or our teachers don't have to come in. Or we had heard a lot of the teachers were saying that they would like to have had access to our schools in the spring of the year. This is going to be able to eliminate them to have to come in. They can find online stuff, send it to the print shop, and then they can send it out to the families.
Great. It also will probably be tangible, manipulative, and things like that.
Hi, Dan Cooney, I've got a couple of questions. Can you explain what Qualtrics is?
So,
Qualtrics is a tool that we use to gather information. It's used to provide surveys to our families, and in fact, we're going to share some information with you and give you an example of how we are currently using Qualtrics. We will be using Qualtrics to support us with planning for our virtual town hall meetings that we will be scheduling in all of our SSD schools as well as our partner districts. Several of our partner districts have already held their family town hall meetings to support families with questions that they may have in regards to the reopening of schools. And so here, this is an invite that we have shared with our families. We have created one for each of our partner districts as well as our SSD schools to make it intimate and to capture information for us to use that information to make informed decisions and to continue to support us with planning. And so here, we will be hosting our town hall meetings beginning August 14th through August 28th, and we have 2 scheduled per day by partner district as well as our SSD schools. Here you see 2 links that we have captured in this invite for our families to submit questions, but also to register to attend the event. And so if you click on the first link, you will see some of the questions that we're able to provide to our families. We give them information in regards to us hosting the meeting, and we ask that they then share information with us. And so here they're going to share the school level and or type of school with us, what their question specifically is related to, and then they will be able to go deeper and provide us with support. What type of support do you need? Specifically, where is your question? How can we support you with that question? And then they have the ability to provide us with their question for us to respond. We sent this information out today, and in fact, we've already received several responses back, and so we're capturing that information, and we're working collectively as a leadership team to develop a FAQ to share with all of our families district-wide that will be placed on our district website. We will have a universal FAQ, but we will also go deeper based on school and or partner districts to respond specifically to questions that could be related to the instructional delivery model that they are using within those particular settings.
Do we have anything on that that says that this information will not be, it says won't be published in any results? Do we have anything that will not be shared with anyone else?
So this information, this is the information that will be provided to us, and then we will then capture this information here at the district.
No, I find that people are very reluctant to give information because everybody's worried it's going to be shared with somebody else or a third party.
Sure.
If I get a billion emails.
No, so this information will only be used in district.
Can we say that on there
You
somewhere?
have that on, yes.
Yeah.
I don't see it on there, and I would feel a lot more comfortable filling out a form that said this will not be shared outside of that. So next thing, another question I have. One of the things that I worry about is many individuals have never had a Chromebook. Some individuals have never been on a computer, any type of computer. Are we contacting those families ahead of time to work through, what you have there, Chromebook basics?
I can answer that. So yes, we're working not only with identifying device needs and training needs. We have quick start cards on how to operate the Chromebook once they receive it. So that would be packaged with the Chromebook. In addition, we have a technology line that our families can access. We've also considered, at least in the SSD schools, and having some tutorials when families come and pick up their devices to be able to work through logging on right at that time so they can practice with support. So we have definitely thought that through.
Thank you.
I have a question. Lady Cottrell, last spring, they had to, a lot of districts, including us, was given a 4-day week and then 1 day for the teachers. Are we considering that? Have we already decided that?
Well, we're working, at this time, we've allowed for 4.5 days of instruction and a half a day designated for building access or preparing materials, et cetera.
Right.
So we have not moved to a 4-day work, instructional week, so we're operating within, but it's not a set day. So,
It's not this Friday.
no, it's not only going to be on Friday afternoon. It will be specific to your child's class or your child's schedule. It will not necessarily be specific to the school.
Okay, thank you.
Can I also, this is Keenan, speak to that, because we went to that 4-day because I think it was pretty overwhelming for families and teachers. Everybody was learning everything new at the same time. The time we have between now and the 24th allows for us to provide that professional development, to build those schedules, to be able to build up the communication process and set their office hours. So we don't have as much of a need to be able to pull back that 1 day to kind of work with the staff and the teachers to be able to provide that. So we're trying to keep as consistent as possible and keep families on schedule. And so because we have the professional development opportunities during this next 2 weeks, that allows for us to be able to provide that versus we had to build that in because we were literally going 5 days a week.
This is Jane Goodman. I just wanted to applaud all the efforts that I know that have gone into setting up all these town hall meetings. It's one thing for the different partner districts to do it, but, you know, we have so many groups that we're trying to reach out to. I know it's probably been a lot of work on your part, and I think it's going to be very effective, and I appreciate you all doing that. They're parents together.
I have one. Okay, Ms. Morgan, this is Patricia Morgan again. One of the questions that doctors, as far as the students who might have needed more support in school, would there be any considerations for any type of therapies in the home at all, for any of the students? No? Okay.
We're not licensed to go into homes. Our teachers are not licensed to the different criteria for our related services as well. Exactly. Our teachers also, I mean, for the safety of our staff and students, we, will explore how we can provide it. Maybe it's like we were talking about evaluations, those types of things coming in a very, very systematic way. But we just have to make sure that we have systems checks in place and our staff are having the appropriate PPE and so on, but we can't go into the home.
Is that documented anywhere for our parents to access that, what you just said, so that they would know that, we're not coming in to do OT, PT?
Yes, we have communicated that to our families. And we understand our staff our families are, very stressed during this time, and some of our students are much more involved. And so we have directly communicated that with them in regards to going into this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, our second presentation of the evening will be the CSIP plan. So that is our continuous improvement plan, and that will be presented by Ms. Pendergrass and is Molly.
She's me down here in a few minutes.
Okay.
So, good evening, Vice President Brown, Dr. Cuneo, Superintendent Keenan, and Board of Directors. I'm Wendy Pendergrass, Chief Academic Officer. What I plan on doing tonight is doing an overview of what we're doing for our CSIP plan, and then specifically, I'm the goal champion of goal number 1, so I'll be reviewing our progress up to this point. So our overview, those of you that have been here for a while knew that we had a litany of strategies. So we really wanted to fine tune this year and drop our goals and strategies down. We have 4 goal areas: student performance, workforce excellence, engagement, and equity. Underneath all of those goals, there's about 3 to 4 strategies per goal. And so each goal area, of course, will have a goal champion. Dr. Bolton will discuss the management.
So with this, you can see we're going to use Microsoft Teams for housing all of our documents. Sorry. Really quick. To have all our documents and our meeting notes, our data keeping, it's all going to be in one place. There's lots of benefits to this. First of all, teams can see across each other. With there only being 9 strategies, it's much easier for teams to collaborate together and make sure that we're really able to track what each other's doing and support what each other's doing.
And so we used Envision in the past, in video in the past. It was very cumbersome and it was difficult to use and update, and the charts were not as easy to pull. Matt Trauber and Carla have worked diligently on setting up all of our goal teams, all of our strategies with access. They just did a training last week where they brought in all of the strategy and goal members and talked about how easy and fluid it would go. They also have quick starts for those of us that may need some extra help with how to access the different strategies and how to update systems. So they've actually recorded video.
And what's really nice is for these meetings, if you have a team member who can't make it, you can record the meeting and put those recordings inside the notes. So that team members not only have the opportunity to review the notes, but if they want to look at the discussion that happened during the meeting, they would have access to that as well. Also, for the goal champions, if they're not able to attend strategy meetings, they're able to go in there and see all that data, which is really nice.
Reporting progress.
So we'll be reporting progress formally quarterly. So they will be expected to record their data as well as do a narrative. And with the narrative, we'll be kind of looking at these questions. So what does the strategy team accomplish for that quarter? What's our outcome data? And what do our trends look like? Are we on track to meet that goal? And what barriers or challenges are impacting that work? And then if they need any assistance because they ran into a barrier. So these will be reflected on by the team quarterly. And then quarterly, the strategy champions will meet with myself and their goal champions to review this so that we make sure our teams have the support they need in order to meet these goals by themselves. With that data check, we'll also be doing one-on-one meetings with the strategy champions. And that gives them an opportunity to, again, go a little bit deeper with those questions and for us to problem solve and brainstorm with them, especially if they've run into barriers or they have concerns.
So now,
Like a virtual water.
So for specifically goal 1, which is student performance, there are a total of 4 strategies for student performance. Any strategy would have 3 to 5 it would have 3 to 5 action steps, and its scheduled completion is 2022. Goal number 1 that we would be addressing in student performance is to enhance quality instruction and our performance in both personal, academic, and career. So we're focusing on literacy, numeracy, and behavior support. Dr. Molly Moldman, strategy champion, Dr. Molly. 1.2 is implementing individual students focusing on post-secondary plans through communication, self-advocacy, and self-determination. Director Casey Wisdom is leading that strategy.
We have 1.3, which is our safety. Ensure that students will learn and staff will teach in an environment which feels safe and secure. That's John Mueller, our Director of Safety. And then finally, for goal number 1.4, ensure that families and educators will partner to achieve high outcomes for students. And that is our Family and Community Outreach person, Adrian Beaton. For 1.1, which is our literacy, numeracy, and behavior, we will focus on multi-tiered systems of support, develop a process around planning professional learning based on the needs that were expressed by the administrators at the end of last year and the first of this year. We're still in the first of it. Molly met with most of our directors and really built a multi-tiered system of support. The schools had operated with a CSIP plan, so they also had one, but we really fine-tuned and looked at the literacy, numeracy, and social and emotional learning. Developed a process to more effectively provide meaningful data. We are a data-generating district, and we have a lot of systems. So how do we use that data effectively and to make positive decisions, improve and implement best practices for instruction as identified by the district. Progress on that goal. Directors are finalizing their integrated tier models of support in partner districts, as I said earlier. Based on gap analysis in the integrated tiered models, directors created professional learning plans. So we're in the process of finalizing what that looks like and partnering with conversations with the partner districts. Prioritizing opportunities, and then being able to roll out that professional learning as needed to address all those opportunities. And then again, last spring, administrators participated in a data story process that allowed them to truly dig down into their data and analyze and move forward. 1.2 is our post-secondary self-advocacy, self-determination, and communication. That is to sustain professional development and resources for self-determination. I don't know if you're familiar with Charting the Life course. That is a tool that we would eventually like to use district-wide when it really systematically plans out what a student will be doing step by step from almost the cradle to career. So it lines out, it gets a team of people together. It's long-range planning, and it's very teacher feedback, student leader. Develop and deploy multi-year implementation plans for districts in accordance with best practice for professional development when it comes to transition. Incorporate a process for determining effective student communication systems. So we teach them very, very well how to communicate in the school environment with particular tools. Do those tools work well in the community environment? So it works really well while they're in school and in our classrooms, but how do we use those skills and build their confidence when they're communicating in the community and then on their post-secondary job areas? Explore cultural proficiencies and unconscious bias as it relates to the impact of long-range planning for post-secondary. So determine the process to incorporate this information in our professional development process. Up to date, we have developed a multi-year implementation plan with a couple of partner districts, Clayton High School, Normandy High School, 6th grade middle school, elementary school in Normandy, Jennings Middle, the high school at University City High School in Jennings, middle school, high school. They're all moving into year 2 of the multi-year implementation. Casey has scheduled meetings with Dr. Bolton to fine-tune the CSEP discussion on communication because that was wrapped into another strategy in the old plan, so we want to make sure that we really focus on communication. Schedule a meeting with Dr. Michael Macklin to discuss equity of process and inclusion of cultural proficiency in a professional environment. Strategy 3 is our safety, feel safe and secure in teaching and learning. So far we've worked on revised the incident command system with the new staff that we have here at central office and in our buildings. John and his coordinator is working on revising all of those plans. Develop all hazard emergency response framework to use to coordinate all types of hazardous incidences that can happen in our schools. Improve overall completion process of corrective actions on biannual environmental safety. John will 4 times a year go into our schools and go into our classrooms and evaluate our safety in our systems, in our schools, our distribution center, here at Central Office and the Learning Center. Improve physical security at all SSD schools, buildings, and garages. So far, the Director of Safety and Coordinator has updated the ICS to reflect the new changes in the organizational system. Research and benchmark materials of like agencies, so he's researching agencies, school systems around us to make sure we stay informed in the new structure. He audited the checklist. It has been revised to look at all the different new environmental factors in health and safety. He will be doing the building schedules in early fall of 2020, and then 30 new two-way radios will be delivered prior to the start of school. So what that does, it provides all of our support teams in our schools, key people, walkie-talkies, two-way radios. All of those radios are able to communicate, not all of them, several of them are able to communicate with Central Office. We have a few strategic, so principals can communicate with each building, so we have all of the St. Louis County coverage. He is currently working through CPTED, which is crime prevention through environmental design, which was very new to me. I was not familiar with that term. But what that does, it is actually looks at our physical environment and our schools and takes it through a crime prevention. So an example would be, how do we make sure if we have windows on a lower level in school buildings, how do we keep them secure? What do you plan outside? How do you keep all the areas of the school safe? If you have cameras, where are your blind spots? It really looks at through the crime prevention. We're hope the security building will be up in North Tech, which adds an additional layer to the campus at North Tech, and also adds a security area for our parking. So those projects will be started in May 2020. Strategy 1.4, ensure families and educators will partner to achieve high outcomes for students. Create an interactive asynchronous presentation for new teacher orientation, which was implemented and received with positive feedback. Create a video folder to add on-demand family engagement website for meaningful data sharing with family modeling the 3 evidence-based conferences. So for those of you, if you were not here when Adrian and Kathy Mueller presented on the different types of engaging teachers and families in conversations to focus on student learning, student engagement, the parent-teacher conferences, there's 3 different models that the schools use. That is just, it's partnering, it brings the parents in, teaches them strategies then to be responsible at home when they go home for their students. I see those being very beneficial now as we move through a virtual environment. Those conversations are very pertinent. Offer a multi-session professional development opportunity for partner district staff to learn evidence-based family engagement strategies, so they are able to engage their families in the partner district, share learning strategies, and improve student academic achievement and outcomes, and create an opportunity for our families to learn and rehearse academic strategies to increase their efficacy and reinforce learning. What we've learned with our families is we want to make sure that we support them when they're teaching their students or when they're providing that instruction. It takes relationships and good, clear communication between the teacher and our families in order to do that. And I would say our teachers are getting very strong at developing those relationships. So far, asynchronous presentation, as I had said earlier, with the new teacher orientation. Family engagement website page is under development. And planning the multi-step professional learning series for all staff in the district is where we're at. Yes, ma'am.
And can you describe asynchronous presentation format?
Yes, ma'am. So asynchronous and synchronous is a hot term that everyone is using right now. Asynchronous, and I get them confused, so Molly, help me out on it. Asynchronous is when you have an interactive, or is that the one person doing the presentation?
Asynchronous is where it's kind of on demand, where you might have videos or activities the next 10 days of the learning.
And so synchronous is when you're engaging people live in a video, like our town hall meetings will be synchronous, where we are actually able to ask and answer questions. Okay. Questions?
Yeah, I got a couple, when somebody else is. 1.3. Sure students will learn in staff and teaching environments which they feel safe. Extremely important. We delayed school because we didn't think it, was safe to do so. But we don't have anything in there right now about COVID. I would think that would be a real important thing. First of all, to have something to the students, I mean, when they return here, that would seem to be important. It would seem to be important for the staff when they return here to know that it's safe. And I don't see anything in their strategy that deals with this. So I'm just thinking you might want to add something that deals with this.
Yes, sir. We are working on a re-entry plan, and a part of that will be the safety mechanisms that we would be using to what it looks like to deploy the PPE. But I definitely will add and work with John on that one.
Well, I was also thinking on the grounds that when they come back, we have told them that it was not safe to be here. Now they're coming back. It might be nice to be able to have it explained in whatever developmental phase that individual is, that it is safe now, and what steps could be taken. And that would be a good way to introduce kids and math and social distancing and all of that. But I think at some point, and if we're going to, and also, I'm sure the staff,
So right now in our toolkit, we do have, funny, Molly and I were talking about this today, social stories and different activities for teachers and families to use to explain to their students why they may have to wear a mask, or why they're not coming to school, or why learning looks like this. Right now, we will start working on once they come back, those social stories.
And the reason why I say that is that I find the most time I get in trouble is when I assume that people know what I'm talking about. Or they assume that I know what I'm talking about. That's kind of scary too. The concept on this is I wanted to make sure that there were no misconceptions, or whatever misconceptions our students had are dealt with, because I don't know what they were talking about.
Yes. Can I speak to that too? Because I think when I read this too, and when we developed this last spring,
There was no book.
right, and when you think about how the word safe has changed, its definition and what it is, and how students feel, and personally, it's like how do staff feel, how do students feel? So absolutely, I think that's safe and secure. We think of it as just like the physicalness of the building. Now it's changed to what does it look like? How do we interact? How do we socially distance? How do we wear masks? All those kinds of things. Yeah.
And one other thing that I like is that prior to COVID, I know that it just seems that there's no world that happened before COVID.
Yeah.
But prior to COVID, what dominated our board hearings was the concept of equity. And I saw Dr. Macklin saying mentioned here.
Yeah.
Would it be possible at some time that Dr. Macklin could give us a talk here, explain what he's doing? Just because that was such a dominant thing at one time.
And CSEP 3 and 4, that will be in October, and he will also be presenting the equity plan for the leadership.
Fantastic. Just at one time, prior to COVID, two things dominated.
Yeah.
Stipends
Yeah.
and equity.
Yeah.
And it seems that COVID has taken over everything.
Yeah. So he will be presenting to the board in October.
This is Jane Goodman. I have a couple of questions about strategy 1.4. I know that we were working to consolidate all of our strategies into more concise work. What was the strategy 1.4 for? That I don't recall us having this sort of emphasis, which I think is great. I'm kind of curious where that was drawn from. And then I do want a little more information on 3 and 4.
Okay, so, family engagement, there are several terms for family, it was, I would say that I do believe 1.4 was a family engagement strategy. I think this year, we've really fine-tuned what that looks like, what we expected. There's a lot of terms thrown around when it comes to family engagement. We come from the belief that family engagement is engaging the families to become instructional leaders and partners together, not just us picking up the phone and having conversations, us participating in IEPs. We truly want a partnership and an engagement with our families that when they leave, they're also responsible, or they feel they're supported and responsible for learning in the home, and we are responsible for learning in the school.
So this wasn't just a distance learning
No,
thing either.
no, we have been training on family engagement and these practices for several years. Adrian Eaglin has gone to, and Kathy Mueller, I hope you remember there, when it truly came to partnering with our families for instructional engagement. As special educators, I thought years ago we were all really good at developing relationships, but never did we really look at the integration of when together we could be partners in learning, right? You do teaching, I do parenting. Now we're bringing that together. It's a part of the home visits that we do, developing those relationships with our families. I think the journey that we've gone on helped us in the schools the most when it came to partnering with our families when we had to go into distance learning, because some of those relationships were already established and developed, and it was easier to move forward. So now more than any time, I think it's important that we continue this work.
Great. Explain to me exactly how you're implementing number 4, what opportunities you're going to be creating.
That's a great question. Yeah, we have several opportunities. Example, we would have like a happy hour at Ackerman. We are kind of re-looking at what that looks like because of the lack of being able to come into a school environment. So a happy hour would be families would come in, we would have light refreshments, we would go through the different classrooms with your teachers. They would be providing you instructional strategies. They would be providing you data of what your child was doing in class and then what specifically they would teach you to work on. And so you would move through that. In an environment like this, we're going to have to work on that. That's kind of not, I don't, hopefully we'll get there, but right now I don't think that's something. So we're going to have to figure out a virtual way to do that.
So does this extend to parents of partner district kids as well?
Yes. Adrian started working with multiple districts, piloting this last year. We first asked for volunteers. If we learned anything in the schools, we started asking for volunteers first and then got momentum. So we went to the partner district. She went to the partner district last year, asked for volunteers. I think Bailiff, do you remember all the teams that were in there? Bailiff, maybe Afton, some of Hazelwood. There were particular districts, Parkway, that sent teams, and so she is now working through that process. So we are training that in partner districts.
And actually, Afton is doing a district-wide presentation with her during the morning. What was offered, they're doing it in person and very offered social distance with all of them.
Very targeted. That's a great move at the area. Thank you. Right.
What's the possibility of utilizing our pillars in this? This seems like if we're going to get opportunities for families to learn and reverse academic strategies, it would be a perfect way to start utilizing some of our pillars, especially online now, because there will be times when they will not, they will not be on the regular Zoom, but if they would set up a time period where people would come in and ask questions, or they could visit with small groups that would go on.
Outside support, definitely, we will definitely look into that. Yes, sir.
Actually, we do have a professional on that strategy team as well, to be a voice for us and how we can include parents in that family.
Fantastic, thank you.
And our last presentation of the evening is with Amy Hector. She is going to discuss the proposal for the tuition reimbursement with the board, and kind of explain the history behind it, where we've been, and where we're looking to go with it.
Good evening, Vice President Brown,
Keenan, and SSD Board of Directors, and Mr. Keenan indicated I'm Amy Schechter, the Chief Human Resources Officer, and it's speak with you briefly this evening, just some information about tuition reimbursement, policy practices in the district, and address some questions and concerns that have been brought forward with the most recent budget, not including those funds for tuition reimbursement for the 2021 school year. So I want to just kind of start to talk a little bit about tuition reimbursement funding. Funds were allocated in both fiscal year 19 and 20 for tuition reimbursement for staff. There is language that allows the district, in the case of a financial emergency, to make adjustments to or eliminate funding based on the financial status of the district. And given our current deficit spending, that is why the funds have not been allocated to this point. Also, it is indicated that a lot of funds that are in the budget are only available until the funded amount is expended. So it's not necessarily never-ending pool of money, but the board approves through the budgetary cycle how much money would be included in the tuition reimbursement fund, and then once that is exhausted, it's over for that fiscal year. When looking at a tuition reimbursement process, there is no district policy or procedure that has been established or brought forward to the board to this point that I can find, and I know in our closed session conversation, you are often not aware of that. So any parameters that we have for expenditure or application for tuition reimbursement funds are only found in the joint resolutions that the district has with our union group. When we look at that joint resolution language as it's outlined for our certified staff in their joint resolution for reimbursement, the dollar amount is set at that of the University of Missouri St. Louis graduate credit rate. And a maximum of 6 graduate credit hours are allowed for certified staff. In order to be reimbursed for that course, the teacher or related service provider or nurse, anyone covered under that joint resolution, has to earn a grade of a B or above. And the additional requirements, they have to have a pre-approved application in order to be considered for reimbursement. They have to provide the district of a receipt of payment to the college or university for the course, and they have to provide an official transcript to the district indicating the grade that they earned in the course. Our support staff joint resolution language is the same with the University of Missouri. However, it is the undergraduate credit rate. There's an error on the next bullet. I apologize. It's a maximum of 3 undergraduate credit hours for each support staff employee. They must earn a grade of C or above, and they have the same additional requirements as pre-approval of their application, as well as receipt of payment and that official transcript. Administrative staff have received reimbursement. There is obviously no joint resolution for administrative staff, and as I indicated in on my first slide, there's no district policy about tuition reimbursement. Therefore, there are no established guidelines. The practice prior to my arrival in the district had been to apply the certified staff parameters to our administrators. Okay. So when we're looking at total expenditures, again, we only have the 2 fiscal years to take a look at. Fiscal year 19, the total expenditures for all groups was a little over $166,000. For the FY20 fiscal year, the expenditures look to be about $250,000. However, when you look at those paid out in March, we paid out $105,000, and we had pending to pay out in October for courses that would have been completed in the spring and the summer, another $144,000, bringing that total to $249,000. So over a 2-year total expenditure, if all of the funds that were pre-approved for part of fiscal year 20 are expended, it will be just slightly over $400,000. When we look at our expenditures by employee group, I know that you received quite a few emails and other correspondence indicating that the administrators got all the money and so there was nothing left for the certified staff. So I wanted to include this information to let you see that predominantly the amount of tuition reimbursement funds that were expended or have been pre-approved have been for our certified staff at about a little over $284,000. our support staff at almost 86,000, and our administrators at approximately 46,000. So I know that one of your desires was for me to talk to you a little bit tonight about kind of the history of tuition reimbursement, the policy, the process, and then to provide for you a proposal on how to move forward. Obviously, a funding proposal, I would recommend that the board, if willing to consider some funds in the budget, given our budget circumstances, to look at a certified allocation for fiscal year 21, which is about $100,000. Our support staff is $50,000, and so it's not to allocate any funds for administrator reimbursement at this time. I would also like to see that if this is approved, I know that I would have to bring that back in a business meeting in an open session as a formal proposal and a recommendation for you to approve, but I wanted to provide you some information, answer any questions that you might have tonight before we decided if that was something that I would do. But we would also need to look at a pretty disciplined application and approval process in order to be the best stewards of the district finances and moving forward, making sure that we're consistently applying any of the processes and to outline that very specific process and application, bring it as part of that proposal to the board. So at this time, I'll answer any questions that you have.
I have some questions on this.
Okay.
First of all, what's the possibility of getting a policy and a reg on this so that I actually have it formalized?
I think that we could do that, and that's something that I think that I can work on to bring to our policy committee meeting that would occur in September.
I think that would, and the reason why I say that is because as things change over the years, as people replace somebody and somebody and somebody, if we don't have something in policy or we don't have something in reg, I have nothing to go on.
Correct.
And that's kind of what's happened over the years on this. The second thing, and I'd like to see the figures later, or when I looked at, I like all the ideas of this, that I would like to see the policy in the reg, so that the board approves it and then it's reviewed on an ongoing basis, because like every policy, it has to be reviewed on an ongoing basis. But your funding proposal seems relatively low compared to what it's been. No.
Well, it's usually a two-year total, so I was making a proposal for a one-year allotment.
I mean, it was, I saw an average of about 208,000 over 2 years. This was 100,500.
But 2 years ago, it was 166, and that included administrators, which are no longer going to. I don't want to interrupt you, but do you have any explanation or any thoughts as to why it went up so much between 19 and 20?
I think just people being aware of the funds being available. I was not able to find anything. I don't know if it was advertised differently. I don't know how it was communicated or how that information was shared.
See, if it was a policy, everybody had it. Everybody had the same amount of knowledge of what
I agree with you completely. We can't move forward without a formalized process, and the policy is the most appropriate way to do that.
I mean, we could do it right, but a policy gets reviewed on an ongoing basis.
Well, policy would lay the foundation, and the reg would set the process.
Yeah. Well, but the board doesn't approve the reg.
Correct.
The board approves the policy. That's why I want to do the policy first. Then we can have the reg afterwards.
I have a question. This is Jan Goodman. Will you establish any sorts of priorities to determine who will be reimbursed, or will it be a first-come, first-served basis since the money will run out?
I think that would have to be set forth in the process, and of course, I think that needs to be geared toward individuals, of course, who are advancing their studies in the field of special education.
And maybe we could consider, if someone got reimbursed the year before, maybe put them lower.
That is something that we could consider.
I think if we have a general policy, we can specify what we want to write.
Just a minute.
Anybody else want to volunteer for the policy? That's you.
I like that better than a first.
Welcome, members.
Well, I mean, we could try this, if it was on a policy, we could then reference the, The frequency, but, well, we could do that in the right, but what we could do is we could end up, footnoting or putting as a reference, the different, contracts that are there. Make sure that we would follow through, and then as they would change, we'd have to reference it again. But everyone would have the same knowledge. Everybody would be at the same starting point.
And the board would just approve a budget every year.
Right. Just follow through. We get rid of favoritism. If there is, I'm not saying that's what happened, but it would, at least the perceived, if there's favoritism, or at least the perceived favoritism.
It would remove a lot of perception that's inaccurate.
Yeah.
But also, like, when you spoke to the fact that it needs to be relevant to SED, so we're not just paying for any degree, it needs to be relative to education to some degree.
Coming back to policy.
Yeah. My question, I think, is an echo of the previous discussion about the graduate, the rating council rates for their classes. And do we know if our teachers and our other staff are attending or taking the classes from UMSL, or if they go to other schools in the area or further away? Is that the appropriate rate? How much does that actually cover?
We can pull that data and look at other rates as well.
I think it's important to note too that there are some support people who would be getting a master's degree.
Yes.
Who wouldn't just be undergraduate support personnel, right? So would they be reimbursed at the
Where the language in the joint resolution is, it's at the undergraduate rate. However, because we don't have any formal process or policy, they've been reimbursing based on course. Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody, being so succinct. All right, our next meeting is on the 25th, I believe it is. Would someone like to make a motion to adjourn? All in favor?
Aye.
All. Motion carries. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night. Good day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate how thorough things was today.
Yeah, I can show you this, show you guys what all the work that you put into it.
Thank you.